afternoon, ladies. My name is Tiffany Spawn, and I'm going to speak to you tonight about high blood pressure. Have you had a great holiday season that entailed some really good food? You ate some real good food that was probably not that good for you. Some food that contained some salt, some sugar, some fat. Well, guess what? All of those ingredients are tied to a deadly disease called high blood pressure. Today I'm going to talk to you and tell you what high blood pressure is. According to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, high blood pressure is a serious condition that can lead to coronary heart disease, heart failure, stroke, failure, and other health problems. Blood pressure is the force of blood pushing against the walls of the arteries that pumps blood into your heart. If this pressure rises too high, it can damage your body in many ways. There are two numbers that you need to know when associated with high blood pressure. One is systolic and the other is diastolic. The systolic is the top number, and this measures the amount of pressure that the blood excretes on the vessels while the heart is beating. And the diastolic is the bottom number, and it measures the pressures of the beats in the blood vessels, the vessels during your heartbeat. Now, the four categories of blood pressure levels is your normal, systolic is 120 or below, and your diastolic number is usually 80 or below. In pre-hypertension stage, your systolic is 120 to 139, and your diastolic is 80 to 89. In your high blood pressure stage 1, your systolic is 140 to 159, with a diastolic of 90 to 99, and then you have a high blood pressure stage 2. And this is really going to be, you need to get to a doctor fast, because you get a systolic of 160 or higher and a diastolic over 100. Now that I've told you about what high blood pressure is, let's talk about some of the causes of high blood pressure. According to Dr. Robert Berg of WebMD, there's really not an exact cause of what causes high blood pressure. However, we have associated some conditions that kind of create high blood pressure. One being smoking. Smoking creates high blood pressure. Being overweight and obese creates high blood pressure. Lack of physical activity, and you guys all have plenty of activity in your cheering. Too much salt in your diet. Stress, genetics, and of course family history, which that runs in my family. Some of the underlying causes have not yet been determined, and those are called essential hypertension. And then when there are some known causes, those are called secondary hypertension. In the essential hypertension, like I said, there's no known causes. However, it has been tested that men are more affected by high blood pressure than women. African Americans are more affected than whites. And people, of course, your diet and your lifestyle is influenced by it, and stress and many other factors. Now, in the secondary hypertension, which is, there's no causes, well, kidney disease is ranked the highest. Birth control pills that contain estrogen create high blood pressure, and as well as there's some other types of medications that shrink the blood vessels. Those will create high blood pressure. Now, I've told you about some of the causes. Now I want to talk to you about monitoring. Now, according to the American Heart Association, you should monitor your blood pressure daily with a heart monitor. There's two types. There are the wrist and a arm. This is a wrist heart monitor that you can use, and basically on this wrist heart monitor, you can record your readings, so you'll be able to go back and read and find and see what your readings are each day on your monitor. Also, there are some things that you should know when doing this whole monitoring. You should make sure you're still, sit still when you're doing it. You want to do your recordings each day at the same time. You also want to do maybe like 2 or 3 readings when you take it, maybe a minute apart, because after all, it's a computer. You kind of want to get the accurate reading. And then, you know, record your answers. If you go to the American Heart and Lung Association website, they have some great tracking tools that you can use and print out and write your results on. So those are some great ways of monitoring. And then, of course, there are other ways of monitoring. There is obviously medication. You know, there are some people that take medication for high blood pressure. Now that I've told you about the causes, let's talk about the final thing. I want to talk to you about treatment. And according to this book written by Robert Kolosky, The Blood Pressure Cure, you don't always need medication to lower your blood pressure, believe it or not. By making certain lifestyle changes, you can lower your blood pressure and reduce your risk of heart disease. Lose weight around your waistline. Let's just lose a little bit of pounds. Exercise daily. Like I said, you guys get lots of that. Eat healthy. Reduce the sodium, the salt in your foods. Cut back on caffeine. Avoid tobacco products. Reduce your stress. And of course, monitor your blood pressure daily. And last, I want to tell you, according to a textbook that was a nutrition 3rd edition, the DASH diet. And the DASH diet basically stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And the DASH diet emphasizes on fruits, vegetables, and low-fat dairy foods, which are all good as far as lowering, keeping your blood pressure low. Now, I want to thank you all for listening today to what blood pressure is and some of the treatments and causes and ways to monitor it. I hope I've made you aware of what high blood pressure is and how you can go about keeping yours low. I want to tell you that 1/3 of American adults suffer from high blood pressure. I am one of those that suffer from high blood pressure. Thus, I'm sure you've all heard high blood pressure has been referred to as the silent killer. Well, I do want to tell you that my father suffered a stroke at the age of 48 years old, and he is now left paralyzed for the rest of his life due to high blood pressure. And so I do want to tell you that high blood pressure is a very serious and deadly disease. And I do hope that you've taken something I've talked to you about today and incorporated it into your daily lifestyle so that you may live a longer and healthier life. Thank you for listening.